Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Randy Swaim joining us today, Coaching for Relevance. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to be back with you, my friend.
Absolutely. No fancy introduction needed for this man. Author, pilot. We have a lot to get to. He's just a firm believer in leadership, and he's out there coaching and teaching people and helping so many overall. So thank you again for being here. And for those new timers out there, Randy, you have a lot of certifications. There's a lot that you do. Describe yourself in one word. Go.
A line and a lot. But I'll just say this very quickly, but like you said, my background, and I'm still aviation. I'm training and certifying jet pilots and bringing leadership and all that to them. But I'm also a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and I'm also a certified master level neuroplastician for the NPN hub in Germany. And just bringing how your brain works or sometimes gets in the way, and what do you need to be aware on that. So aviation, but also leaders and teams and all that, that's some of the stuff that I bring.
Well, thank you for being here. Now, for today, we have so much to get to. Where did you want to start today? Whether it's going to be love your stories and examples of the leadership. We're going to talk about that, the book, the movie, what? All the above, right?
Well, I'll mention those. I'll mention those two very quickly here in just a minute or two. But then I was going to take, because as you know, last week I kind of focused on your legacy is, pointed toward the future, not something you did in the past and stuff like that and what I'm going to deeper mindset that leaders have to be aware of and how they're leading their team and everything. But yeah, I'm my autobiography is on Amazon, and it's published out there. People that have read it have really appreciated it, and also the Hollywood movie documentary Bring Freedom to Potential that Hollywood created on my story is now published for the public and everything. You can get it on YouTube and some other things. And I know that the AEMG marketing folks are actually putting it for other programs also. And I think they're working on trying to get it on Amazon Prime right now. But yeah, just bringing that story.
And we still love hearing more of the story. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
I just muted myself. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I can do, if you want, I'll go ahead and get started for today. But it brings in one key aspect about leadership, and it's particularly relative to organizational maneuverability and unexpected situations and changing things that are happening and being aware and being ready for that stuff. And I'll just mention a couple of things on that. And, one of the things when you look at a lot of people in society today that are looking to be leaders or are leaders, their mindset is that everybody else just needs to shut their brain off and do what I tell them to do, kind of thing. That's not everybody, but there are some out there that almost sort of think that way. But that is not what you want in your team. And as I mentioned last week in our show, that your legacy is about what you're moving forward in the future. It's not just about what you did 2 years ago or whatever, kind of thing. It's about what you're creating that's going to be moving forward in the future and creating a real benefit and everything. And it's just something to think about. And there's some aspects of neuroscience with what I'm going to bring today also, with how your brain works and how you might miss some things. But when you're talking about moving forward in the next years and being able to create and leave a legacy, if all you're doing is trying to, leading and you're not developing your team. And so it's just something that is critical that people need to fully realize that part of being a leadership.
Recording in progress.
Is that back?
We are back. Go for it. Lost you in progress.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the um, like I said, when you're talking about the military, something your commander, your leader is the one that needs to be, leading and dictating and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that made the team successful in that is not just what happened there; it's how they developed along the road to get there.
Yeah.
And it's something that is very, very key. And and what I wanted to kind of bring today, just very and it doesn't take a lot, but I mean, like I say, it dovetails out of what we were talking about last week with going forward and your legacy leading forward. One of the things that I just want to mention here is that when you're watching your team, sometimes there are times that sometimes when something's getting in the way or something's unexpected or the result doesn't work out just the way they expected or you wanted it, very often the leader goes to a superficial thing and just blames his people and all of this sort of stuff. But that's, guess what? Particularly when you're talking about an organizational maneuverability concept, there are factors that may have come on the scene that they were not even aware of. There may have been factors that came on the scene that even you were not aware of. And one of the things when you're talking about leadership, if you are sick today and you couldn't come to work, is your team such that they're still going to be able to reach radical results because of the way that you all have grown together and developed and all that. But one of the things I wanted to just kind of bring out on this very quickly here, and it sort of dovetails a little bit about from last week as we were talking about, when you come up and you're trying to go into a particular strategy and something doesn't work, 9 times out of 10, people are accusing and pointing fingers and blaming and all of that kind of stuff. But what I want to do is bring a neuroscience sort of aspect to it, not the science of it, but how the brain kind of gets involved or not on this is key to what I'm going to bring out. And but the thing is simply this, that when you see something that's not working, as a leader, you almost say, well, they're just not getting it done, or they're just not making this right. Make sense? And if that's what you're doing, that's dysfunctional and it's not what you're wanting to do. And what I wanted to do here today is to just bring out a couple of the things that are applicable here. And a leader and actually your teammates need to somewhat be aware of this also. But the leader needs to be aware there's 2 aspects of this. If something doesn't work right or it's not quite successful for that first few minutes or the first hour or whatever kind of thing, guess what? There's 2 possibilities that could happen. One is that it's not something that they just screwed up, but it was a mistake. It wasn't like a discipline thing. It wasn't like a dysfunctional thing or anything like that. It was just a mistake. It may be that they were thinking of something, but they just made one mistake in how they applied it, and it came into be. Okay. The other one, the other one that comes into play that may not be that is this aspect where somebody just disorganizationally, just says, hey, well, that's what they said, but we're not doing that because you know what? That's not what's really going to happen here. And they go in here and they make it sort of dysfunctionally on that. And the bottom line on this is, and there was one person that actually shared this and he was dead right on this, that if the aspect, because there's 2 aspects of that. One is like I said, the mistake where it wasn't something that was just planned and going to do, but just they missed maybe one thing in it as a mistake, or there was one thing they didn't think about in it. The other one was sort of a disapproval thing where they just said, hey, we're just going to do this. And that's what a lot of people in society have a tendency to do sometimes. We're just going to go do this. Well, you know what? That may not get you there. And if you do that, you're disconnecting and you're being dysfunctional. But here's the thing. When you're leader and you are aware of one or two of your people made minor mistakes, disciplining them and threatening them is not the solution. If it's a mistake, coaching is what is required. When you come in and you ask them questions and you have very unified conversations together where it helps them get a sense for their mistake and what that was like and how they did it. When it's a mistake, it's not discipline, it's coaching. It's getting together with them and helping their vision and helping them get a sense of sort of what they did, what they were thinking, and how they need to tweak that. That is the case where it's just a mistake. But guess what? If it turns out that they were dysfunctional in this and disobedient in this, now discipline is necessary. And so that's what you have to be aware of on these two aspects in your team as a leader to get a picture of which one is really applicable. And if you think about it, when you're talking about your team, remember that the things that you see and observe are not just this and that, but there's kind of a sort of a scam sequence in there sometimes that can be adjusting a little bit and stuff. But the bottom line is those when you're talking about this kind of thing in your team, those are the two things that I just wanted to bring out from, kind of going forward in your career and in your legacy and all that kind of stuff. If somebody just was trying to do it right, because if you think about it, and I think, and Jill, I think you know this, but so many people, you know what, in everything you've done to grow yourself, not everything has been perfect. There are certain things that you had to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still
And
is.
there are certain things at times for all of us where it was not, it was not as successful at the time, but we learned from it and we became. And guess what? In this situation with your team, if it's a mistake, this could be a real learning spot for your team, for the person involved. And if you coach it right, and coaching is not just pointing fingers and dictating to them. Coaching is asking questions and generating a conversation that helps them to sort out what they were thinking about mentally when this came out, and also getting a picture on how they might need to do that differently and better. Right. And so that's what the mistake. That's why coaching is for that. The other one, where it's disobedience and all of that kind of stuff, that is where somebody is just trying to call attention to themselves, perhaps, and they're doing it differently than the way the team was going to do it, just because of what, and that one is mentally unprofessional. And so if you have a situation like that where they're following with that, it incorporates a degree of discipline to correct them on that. So it's just two aspects of this when you're in a predictable environment where not everything is just rote academic. How are you really connecting with your team members in a way, the right conclusion, the right vision, and something that when you're looking at going forward and all this aspect with those two possibilities, kind of thing in your team, that's something that you have to be aware of. And as a leader, Are you doing what's right based on what you see, what you experience, and what you observed in your people? Again, if they were trying to do the right thing, but they just made one little mistake, that's coaching. If you get somebody who, because of perhaps arrogance or just because they said, "Hey, I want to do that,"
Mm-hmm.
that can be a bad thing, and that may include a degree of discipline. Does that mean you got to send them home for a day? No,
Mm-hmm.
but to address it in such a way where they sense a degree of discipline in fixing that. And so those are just some things to your team that are not just on the scene. That does your team have the vision of it?
Mm-hmm.
Are they truly aware of it? But that's just what I wanted to bring out. This aspect when you're talking about unpredictable situations with your team and your leading of the team. It's not just about you shutting their brain off and telling them what to do. But the bottom line is when you look at the situations and you're aware of the fact that it was just a mistake on their part, but they're learning, that requires just some coaching.
Mm-hmm.
If it's disobedience because they're prioritizing on their own mindset and they're thinking that they're the only ones that know anything or whatever, kind of thing, and they do something wrong, that takes some discipline on it. And so those are the two aspects about that when you're leading forward that you need to be aware of. And these are things that you need to do to really develop your team members so that those aren't required in the future, kind of thing. And so it's just something to think about that brings that one aspect to it when you're talking about leading your teams in a challenging situation. And when you're talking about legacy going forward for the future, guess what? If you're using those two properly for the right situations and people are growing,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? That can be part of the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a key insight when you're talking about whether they're looking at they're employing a mistake rather than just unprofessional thinking, or if they're doing unprofessional thinking. And what do you need to do once you see which one is applicable there? So I just leave that with the listeners, something to think about with your team, particularly in challenging situations and organizational maneuverability aligned and all that. But when you're leading your team, are you doing it in such a way which truly gets them to be your legacy going forward? Not just because they're just doing what you told them to do.
Yeah.
That's not it. But it's who they are becoming as they go forward.
Yeah.
And so it's just something to think about. One aspect about that when you're looking at those two particular aspects about it. And are you aware of it? And are you aware what is needed based on what you see?
Yeah.
And so I just leave that with the listeners for this week.
Thank you. I'm so sorry about our issues. We will do the show for next week. I'm assuming we'll be back, and hopefully we won't have any issues then. Thank you, Randy. How do we contact you?
That sounds good. Go right to the bottom of the homepage. It has my cell phone number in there and my email, and anybody can do that. And I've said this on almost every show that we do, but I don't do cold call sales pitches on the spot. If somebody has a need, yeah, we'll come up with something.
Perfect.
But if they just want to have a chat and a conversation about something, they can call me and let me know.
Thank you so much, Randy. We appreciate you again. So sorry. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, Buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.